Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Recipe for Success. My name is Nancy Giacalone, and if you can believe it, this is episode 1 of season 3. I started this back in 2020 during the pandemic. I had no idea what I was doing. I just got this crazy idea this would be fun to do. As I was telling our guests, I was cooking one weekend and thinking about all of the similarities between cooking and business. And it came to me that there's always one particular ingredient or technique that is critical to the outcome of anything that you're making. And, really the same thing is true in business. And I had the good fortune to come across these young entrepreneurs very recently. And I was so impressed. I knew right away I wanted to get them on my show. And I thought they'd be the perfect people to kick off season 3. So I would like to introduce Grayson and Marie Hogard of Grove Cookie Company. So you can see the tie-in with the whole recipe thing. Grayson and Marie, thank you for coming on. And I would love it if you could just take a moment to introduce yourselves to our audience and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, thanks for having us, number one, and glad to have connected with you on LinkedIn. You happen to enter our LinkedIn marketing strategy. So, so we're a husband and wife founded company. We launched in 2021, January. So we're almost at the 2-year mark. Started from our house, just as a fun little project. And now here we are. We're in our own
pandemic project.
Pretty much.
That's what some people call it. So, and here we are now. We're in our office at our shop. So, from the home to the shop in 2 years, we've been rapidly growing. So it's been fun.
That's amazing. So before I get into the heart of all the things I want to talk about, particularly how we connected, because I think this is one of the things a message I want to get out to everyone, like how important connections, marketing, networking is. But how did the two of you meet?
Well, it's actually a funny story. Our friends, mutual friends, actually set us up on a blind date in Chicago, of all places. So Grayson and I are both born and raised from Beaverton, Oregon. So to travel to Chicago to meet each other is pretty funny. But we ended up hitting it off that weekend. And then we learned that we live a mile apart in our hometown. So it kind of really worked out and we were able to continue seeing each other.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to switch things around. I had kind of an order I was going to go in, but now I'm just in my little hub. So I want to talk about LinkedIn before we get into all the other stuff, because the reason that I became connected with Grayson and Marie is from Grayson reached out to me on LinkedIn and sent me a message and said that they're working on getting their cookie company going and they wanted to send me a sample. And I mean, have you met me? I'm not going to turn down a free sample of cookies. So of course I'm like, that would be amazing. And within a couple of days, this lovely packaged box showed up with a handwritten note inside and some incredibly delicious soft cookies. I can think of few marketing tactics that I have been exposed to over the years, and believe me, there's plenty of years there, that were more well thought out and successful than that one. So when did you guys decide you wanted to start doing that, and how did you define what market you were focusing on?
Well, kind of goes back to our start. We had this grand idea of people would show up to our house to buy our cookies. We'd act like a retail shop from our townhouse. And, you soon quickly realize that people don't do that. And they don't want to come to your house. So we were fortunate enough that one of our good friends, Dad, has a very well-established wealth advisory practice and very big on like touch points. And we actually took the cookies over to their house. We didn't get to see them try them, but the feedback the next day was like, can you ship these cookies? And from there, it kind of it just blossomed, right? So my background is in warehousing. So I kind of just know a little bit about how to ship things so they don't break. And yeah, they absolutely loved the cookies. And so from that point on, we found our market, which is the financial services market, where the client relationship is obviously extremely important, referral marketing, just the overall, hey, I'm thinking about you, because again, as you're probably aware with your clients, wealth advisor clients, they have clients for a very, very, very long time. So that constant reassurance and the trust, and it's just the building of the relationship that had us gravitate towards that side of the business, B2B.
I love it. Well, and as you well know, the first thing I did when I got my cookies was I took a picture of them, sampled them with the office, and posted on LinkedIn about how cool that was. So you're getting double the bang for your buck by sending them to me, because then you know that I now know about your company. I know that you can ship, and I know what it looks like. I know what my clients would receive. And
Yes.
I'm, of course, going to say, look how amazing this is to everybody else. And it increases your exposure. So honestly, I think it was an absolutely brilliant marketing technique. I'm a huge fan of LinkedIn for B2B type of networking and building connections. And it's been fun for me to see some of the things that you have done along the way, because I follow you, and I'm a lurker. So sometimes I just watch, but I mean, it's really cool what you guys have been accomplishing with that.
Well, thank you. And I forgot what your original question was, is how did we get to LinkedIn? That's, again, we cold call a lot. I was just doing that before our podcast, but that's been like the greatest tool to effectively market, right? Broader audience. It's going, I never asked you to post a photo, right?
No.
You just did, and that's what we quickly realized in the summer of 2021, that people are just like, wow, this is such a thoughtful gift. Let me take a photo. And they take a photo of the note with the logo. And it worked. Again, I'm not a marketing genius. It just happened that way. And it's just been really cool.
It is. It's really good. I'd sent some cookies to somebody from you, and she took a picture, and she, thanked me and thanked, you guys. And so it really does have a snowball effect. So what you're doing is really smart. Kudos to you. Anybody else that is watching this, that is thinking about, how do I have an effective marketing technique? Don't forget about the power of giving.
Yes.
I mean, really, have you read the book, The Go-Giver?
No.
It's short. You could probably read it in a couple hours. I highly recommend it. And it talks about the power of giving without the expectation of return, but how that just multiplies in, it just has an exponential effect. I think you would really enjoy that book. So I might even send it to you. So watch out for that.
That's great. We actually just surpassed 500 samples shipped out since we started.
That's
so you can think about that. That's like $10 a box for shipping alone.
Yep.
It's quite the investment, right?
It is.
So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So starting a business is not easy. I know as a business owner, it is not easy. And there are days when you wonder, why in the heck am I doing this? Well, hang on a second. We have a little comment. Let's see what. Oh, Lisa, marketing lesson is great and all, but I need to look into those cookies. Lisa, I will hook you up. Yeah, they're pretty amazing. But starting a business is hard. Starting a business with your spouse can be even more challenging. So what motivated this leap of faith and devotion to your marriage?
Yeah, to be honest, I feel we had pretty low expectations going into this. Like, I personally always wanted a side hustle. So I was kind of, this was 2020. I just picked up baking as like something to do with all the downtime from working at home. And, Grayson kind of took it and really ran with it. We had like our business license and website, everything done within a weekend. But again, we kind of thought it would just be like friends and family. I wasn't thinking like, well, this would be our business. But we were really fortunate to like find our avenue and our path and be able to grow. But I think why we've been successful is we both have such different skill sets and it really allows us to like stay kind of in our own lanes. I'm, doing all the baking, or I was, and really focus on that, where he's focused on marketing and shipping and those kind of functions. So I think we do a good job collaborating together, but also, can stay in our own areas. So it's not too much.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So somebody's enjoying it. See, it's all good. That's the one thing I will tell you guys, being newer to the whole marketing and everything, just show up as yourselves. It doesn't matter. And that's why I do these live. Most people do their podcasts and they're very produced. And I mean, I repurpose them and put them out there on the platforms, but I just like to talk to people. I just like to find out what's going on. And if somebody laughs crazy or snorts or whatever, it just makes it better to me. So stay your authentic selves. That's my biggest piece of advice there.
Yeah. Well, you just talk about like being in business with your partner or your spouse. It's been really fun to like learn more about each other. I don't come from a sales or marketing background. I'm logistics, kind of just, I was always kind of, I guess, bubbly at work and just had a positive attitude or whatever. But that kind of just transcended to cold calling, right? And which is hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I actually find it really funny because it's even better to cold call someone. And is it too early to talk about cookies? And most of the time,
you got it. You have an easy sell. No one's going to say no to cookies.
Yeah. Right. So we have fun with it. Like Marie's heard me laugh plenty of times on the phone. She's like, wow, you really enjoyed that one. And, it's just fun, right? It's cookies. So
yeah, I love it. So that kind of leads me actually into my next question, because I have always been an avid cooker and baker, and I love that. And so I was instantly drawn to what you guys were doing. But one of the things, of course, then of course I have to research it, and I'm like, what are they putting in these cookies? Am I okay with putting these cookies in my body after I've shoved them in my mouth? But I found out, you guys were pretty dedicated to using clean ingredients, ethically sourced ingredients. Where did that passion come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think baking is all about the details, right? And the quality matters, and every choice you make like has a difference in your recipe. So it's always been important to us to like not cut corners and to, really stay true to ourselves and make a quality product, even as we continue to grow. It's just important to like keep the recipe the same. We're lucky to have, really good ingredients around us, like Bob's Milk for our flour. Like we will always stay loyal to them. So I feel lucky to be in this area.
Yeah. So that's really been like the key point, especially with the clientele we're dealing with. They kind of want that or expect that, just the higher quality ingredient. And, cookies aren't necessarily inexpensive, and they aren't inexpensive to make, but we do, we're using real butter and just the real ingredients to make the cookies better. And a well-tasting cookie shipped to someone, it needs to have that standard.
Yeah.
Well, I can attest that you guys are succeeding in that way. And I agree 100%, because for people that are trying to take care of themselves or want to send a thoughtful gift, when you send a treat, you don't want to feel bad about eating that treat. And so when you know that there's good ingredients in there, I think that makes a big difference as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. If only our add-in partners, like Oreo and all those, they have their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? So,
they do, but I'm not going to lie. If you're going to try one of those Oreo cookies, they're delicious.
They are delicious. So.
They are delicious. So tell me so you went from just deciding, okay, over the weekend, this seems like a good idea. We're going to license this. We're going to get all our paperwork going. Now we're making cookies, and we're probably selling not that many in the beginning.
Right.
Friends tapping into friends and family. But clearly you're in your own facility now and you're shipping across the country. How have you managed your growth?
I think we are blessed to find our business coach early on in our process, in our journey. And she really enforced that we have systems and processes in place so that we were ready for like the next step. And thankfully we, established those while we were still at the house. So when we got our facility, we were like, here's already our process, our system. We were able to hire right away, and kind of pass off like the baking responsibilities because we already had all the systems laid out. So I think just being super organized and really dedicated to taking the time to like document everything, even though that's a lot of work, it's so worth it as you continue to grow.
Yeah. So shout out Coach Tammy Traden. I don't know if you've ever read the book E-Myth.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's her background in coaching is really that same philosophy. So that was huge. And then we have a really awesome learning management system called Trainual that has been a lifesaver. So those things all took about 7 months to kind of iron out, get, cohesive, and then requires constant updating. So right now we have 3 team members and they're making the cookies right now. So
I love that. Well, first of all, I love that you have a coach. That is so rare to hear people early on in their business venture that made that commitment. I think it's one of the best investments that any business owner, entrepreneur can make is to have that accountability partner, to have somebody that can, keep you on track. So that's truly amazing. And I also love that you have your own LMS system. That's really cool too.
Yeah.
Did she introduce that to you, or is that something you thought of? Again, you come from logistics, so maybe that's something that came naturally to you.
So, well, she recommended that we start documenting. So at first I was using like Google Sheets,
Sure,
Google Documents, whatever. And then just, it was just hard to organize. And then, good old Google. And I just typed in, training management system or whatever.
Right.
And the system called Trainual, just kind of close to training management, popped up. I really liked the interface. Had a great conversation with the sales representative. And for what we pay for it on a yearly basis, it's fantastic. All updates are automatic, right? So they get broadcasted to everyone's phone. There's no like lag. Hey, did you get that? Or, we just moving from the house to the shop, it wasn't, a smooth sailing process. It still required its own ironing out of certain things that we thought would work that didn't. But again, it's allowed us to communicate effectively, which is the best or most critical thing you can have when you start introducing team members.
I love that. I always tell people, I mentor some people in my industry that are going out on their own. And I always tell them, act as if you have 10 employees already. Everything you do, write a process for it.
Yeah.
So, because it'll be so much easier down the road. Yeah. And, even when you hire that first employee, you hire as if you already have 10, you have your employment agreements, you have everything in place. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for Grove Cookie Company and also yourselves individually? Let's say 1 year as well as 5 years from now.
Ooh. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So for like the 5-year goal, we really want to be the pinnacle gifting company, going above and beyond for our clients. We already do that with our notes. So we say no to gift messages on packing slips. We like gift messages to be their own stationery with your logo, because that's just the most impactful thing. There's nothing worse than gifting, and then someone doesn't know who it came from because they couldn't read the size 4 font on the packing slip, right? So we were guided on that enhancement by our wealth advisors. They really just kind of molded us into this whole thing, and that's what we want in the next 5 years, enhancing 1 million relationships by
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So what would you say? Okay, so I'm going to ask Marie, what has been the biggest reward and the biggest challenge you've encountered so far?
I think the biggest reward is just hearing all the positive feedback from our clients of how they've improved their relationships with their clients because of our product. Like they are getting those touch points and actually getting responses from people because they appreciated the cookies so much. So I just think it's such a I just love that we're impacting the community in such a big and impactful way. What's biggest challenge is probably just, again, navigating growth and adding, deciding like when's the right time to add the next employee, or, making some of those bigger decisions, like when should we buy this big piece of equipment? Those kind of really business decisions that like we haven't had to deal with before. It's like, our first time. That's been the most challenging, probably.
Awesome. Okay, let me see. Do you have any other? Okay. I know that we do have a slight time constraint this morning, so I'm going to move on to the fun part of my show. And this has been a standard on every episode. Everybody gets asked a version of these questions. I like to call them my 5 burning questions. So since I have 2 of you, you each get to answer. It's not one common answer. I'm going to start with Marie. What is your favorite food? And I'm pretty sure you can cook it, but let's clarify.
My favorite food is pasta. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And can you cook it?
Yes.
Grayson? Chipotle.
Okay, well, enough said on that one. Okay, so what's the one character trait you admire most in other people, and why?
For me, it's transparency. Like, I just want to be as transparent with everyone I'm interacting with, and I expect the same. I just feel like that goes a long way.
It does.
I like enthusiasm.
Why?
Yeah. Well, because I picture myself as being enthusiastic. So it just is, I don't know. I just gravitate towards people's energy. And that's just one of those key traits that I find I just connect well with that.
Okay, so if we flip the script, flip the mirror, now you have to look at yourself. What's the character trait in yourself you're most proud of, and why?
For me, it's my discipline. I think that's why I became a good baker, is because I'm very disciplined in what I do. I take everything really seriously and stick to a schedule. But
I agree with Marie's discipline. She is very good at that. I'm more like squirrel. What? Distracted. So Marie really keeps the ship going the right direction. Mine is enthusiasm. I've been told that numerous times, and it's just good to hear, like, especially our team members, like they come in the morning and they're like, wow, we'll give a little pep talk. I feel motivated. They'll be tired at one moment, and then after the meeting, they're like, oh, I feel motivated, or something like that. So it's just, it's those things that really just get me going. It's fun.
That's cool. I like that. Okay. So if somebody you knew was thinking about, well, maybe somebody's listening, who knows, was thinking about turning their side hustle into a real business or a full-time gig, what's the one thing you would tell them?
This is a hard one because obviously, this is kind of a side gig still for us.
But it's a business side.
It is a business, yes. So I would go back, really get a coach. Unless, you were fortunate enough to have like a family member, parent that like has already started a business and kind of gone through the ups and downs of it. I think a coach is such a good bridge to A, bounce ideas off of, and then B, keep you moving in the right direction, right? That accountability, the guidance. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Really.
I would say, like, not everything's going to go according to plan, but as long as you show up with the same passion and drive for why you started your company every day, you'll find a solution to get through any roadblock. Just keep going.
That's great. Okay. So this is always a fun one. What's your secret talent or something that people would be surprised to learn about you?
For me, is like, I started baking in 2020. So a lot of people think I've been baking my whole life and I've just had this recipe forever. Like, I just built this recipe out of boredom and it worked out. So that's mine.
this was a tough one for me to answer because I just was like, I don't know. But just because of my background, I didn't come from like a sales or marketing. I think my enjoyment from cold calling is, I guess, unique. Not a lot of people enjoy it. So
Yeah, you're very right. You're very right. That is a talent. I mean, I'm not joking. That is a talent.
I
So
like
you should be glad you have it.
Yeah, I don't claim to be like some wizard. I just enjoy just the conversation. It's no pressure here. So
Nice.
yeah.
Okay. So last question. Who's the one person, famous or otherwise, um, that you would most like to meet and sit down with and have a coffee? Maybe it's somebody, that wrote a book, has a podcast, maybe just somebody you've heard about. Who would that be and why?
Ooh. I've been big on the whole entrepreneur like podcast kick, obviously, for like the last 2 years, because I've just found them to be so helpful. But I don't know if you know a gentleman by the name of Ed Milet.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so that would be someone I would love to sit down and just chat with. I've just found his podcast to be like extremely helpful, just from a mindset standpoint, or just like kind of all those things you talk about starting a business. It does feel lonely at times, but being able to kind of have like that virtual mentor in a sense, it has been huge. So I'd love to just chit chat with him and hear more about his story.
Cool. How about you, Marie?
I think I would like to sit down with like the founder of Crumble, just to like, learn from them and just hear their story and kind of like learn more details about their business. Cause obviously that's like what we are always like comparing ourselves to, and like everyone does it as well. So it would just be fun to sit down and like really learn more.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. I know we're running out of time, but I do have one last question for you off the script. But you both talked about the power and benefit of having a coach and how much that has really impacted you and helped you grow the business and scale it as quickly as you have. How did you find your coach?
Well, through cookies, believe it or not. When we first started, we were doing not necessarily markets, but there was an event called Cars and Coffee where all the people with cool cars congregate and they pop their hoods. And anyways, we got connected with the gentleman that sets it all up. And we were like, hey, we'd love to be a vendor there. We'll hand out cookies or, kind of hustle them. And our coach happened to be there at one of those events. She had the cookies. She kind of told us a little bit about herself. Then like 2 weeks later, we were at the local Porsche dealership for one of their Cars and Coffee events. And she happened to be there. She has a Porsche. And we ran into her again. And we're like, oh my gosh, we remember you. And then she goes, read the E-Myth book and then get back to me. And so I went home, ordered it on Amazon, read it. And like a month later, I reached out to her. And then that's kind of how that whole entire thing.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you both, but people are going to want to know, how can they get the cookies? Where can they get the cookies? What do the cookies taste like? So can you give them the little 30-second sales pitch?
You betcha. You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we're Grove Cookie Company, www.grovecookiecompany.com. That's the easiest way to find us. You can find us on social media, but ordering takes place through our website. If you have any questions, you can just reach out via the contact us form, and we'd be happy to help you through all your client relationship needs. We specialize in out of this world, soft and delicious cookies that, again, are shipped nationwide using fast shipping speed. So it's 1-day shipping throughout the Pacific Northwest and 2 to 3 day shipping across the rest of the country. So that's
awesome. If you need to connect to them, if you forget all this and you're like, I heard about that great cookie company, feel free to reach out to me directly here on LinkedIn or on any other social media platforms. Again, I highly endorse them. I have had their cookies. I have sent their cookies all the way to the East Coast, and they arrived fresh and delicious. So I can't say enough good things about them. Thank you again for joining us, and I will see everyone else next week.